Hello and welcome to Module 7, Intuition, Trusting Our Intuition. I added this component to this series because I started to realize that my intuition has actually been my greatest guide through my life, and yet I did not always honor it or listen to it. But when I think back on big moments in my life, it was my intuition. It was for me this little voice in my head, kind of chirping away, guiding me. And it was whether or not I chose to listen. And so, one of the examples I wanted to share was a long time ago in my 20s. I'm married the first time at 23, far too young, I tell my children who are now 23 and 20 shortly. And within a few years, I had a clear sense that this was not how my life was meant to go. And it was this little voice showing up, just kind of whispering to me, kind of gently telling me, it's okay, you're okay. This does not have to be the way. This does not have to be your path. And the voice just got louder and louder over those years. And 4 years in, I decided to listen to that and honor the fact that, yes, I'd made a mistake. This was not how my life was supposed to go. And I needed to access my courage and leave that marriage at a young age without a lot of support at that point. And it was a stage of life where most of my friends were getting married, and here I was leaving a marriage. So it was a challenging time, but absolutely the right decision. So I think my intuition and courage kind of tend to play together. When I left employment, so in 2011, I had discovered coaching. I was really curious about leadership coaching. And again, there was this little voice, and it took a while. Like I don't get a message from my intuition and always act on it right away. But again, that voice just kept telling me, there's something here, like pay attention to this. This um, new passion that you have, there's something there. And it's okay to walk away. I feel like my intuition is a voice that actually gives me permission to operate counterintuitively to what society has told me, or the messages I bought into from society. Let's put it that way. So messages I bought into around what success looks like, um, working hard, and maybe compromising different things, but success, financial reward, um, everything, looking good. I really bought into those messages. And my intuition's always been the voice that's like, no, not for you, Diane. No, that's actually not what you believe. And it's okay to walk away from those messages that you've heard, it's kind of like you played by the rules. It's not working for you, and that's okay. And so at this stage, just this year, even my intuition was really speaking to me around Dare to Lead. And my brain wanted to plan an in-person Dare to Lead this fall. And I got some help researching venues. I was thinking about booking an in-person Dare to Lead. But now my intuition kind of shows up as procrastination. It's like I just couldn't act. I couldn't make a decision. I couldn't book the venue. There was just something holding me back from making that commitment. And so I've learned to just listen to that rather than judge myself for procrastinating. Now I kind of pay attention to it and get curious about it, because I can execute on a lot of things. So if there's something I don't want to execute on or do, I'm learning now there's probably a reason that just hasn't come clear to me yet. So I'm listening to my intuition, which can sometimes show up as procrastination. And as it turns out, so I finally just decided in early June, you know what? I'm just not going to do an in-person Dare to Lead. I'm going to do a virtual Dare to Lead. And my intuition was just picking up on some signals from Brene and her company that were just letting me know that things were changing. So I could sense a shift. And as it turned out, on June 28th, Brene announced that she is changing her business model. She's sending Dare to Lead over to a big coaching company called BetterUp. And we have 6 months to wrap up our Dare to Lead commitments and then decide if we want to transition over to BetterUp. So while I could have still delivered on an in-person Dare to Lead, it would have been, I think, very hard on me kind of emotionally to stay committed to that path, not knowing what the future looked like for me with Dare to Lead. So instead, I'm going to have an amazing virtual Dare to Lead. It's actually filling up. So if you're interested in joining me for Dare to Lead, don't hesitate. Sign up because we're going to sell this one out. And that feels perfect to have a virtual Dare to Lead, sort of my final IRG Dare to Lead. And then I'll see and let my intuition guide me on whether or not to make the transition to BetterUp. But the moment she announced it on June 28th, I literally said, thank you, intuition, for supporting me to pull back, not be overly committed in the Dare to Lead space. And it made that kind of surprising announcement a little more palatable for me. So intuition shows up in all kinds of situations. I think of it as an inner knowing that has no data or rationale necessarily, but it's just something you sense, something you know to be true, or a little voice that you're willing to listen to. Our intuition can show up in so many different ways. Sometimes it comes through our body. There are body signals, goosebumps, warm flushes, whatever way that your intuition speaks to you. I think mine's a little bit of the goosebump stuff, and it is just this quiet voice that I can hear when I'm willing to pay attention. So definitely honoring my intuition more. I think it's something that we are taught to dismiss, and I wanted to create space in this series for us to acknowledge our intuition and let it have a seat at the table as we reconnect to who we are and where we want to go and how we want to live this life. I'll be so curious. Please send me any insights or tips you have about listening to intuition or stories of how your intuition has served you. I would love to hear those. All right, have fun with this worksheet, and I'll see you for week 8 next week.